Probably, John. 3 credulous fools who've been brought in by a young man with a pleasing and pleasant personality.
Mrs. Bowl, my dear Mrs. Bowl, allow me.
Ah, you are Mr. Mayhew.
Yes, and this is Sir Wilfrid Robart, who's agreed to handle your husband's case for him.
How do you do, Sir Wilfrid?
How do you do, ma'am?
I have just come from the office, Mr. Mayhew.
Yes.
They told me you were here with my husband.
Quite.
Just as I arrived, I thought I saw Leonard getting into a car. There's 2 men with him.
Now, my dear Mrs. Dole, you must not upset yourself. Won't you sit down here?
Thank you.
Now, there's no reason to be alarmed as yet, and you must not give way.
Oh no, I shall not give way.
Well, then, I should tell you that, perhaps as you already suspect, your husband has just been arrested.
For the murder of Miss Emily French.
Yes, I'm afraid so, but don't be upset.
Thanks, that's Sir Wilfrid. But I'm not upset.
No, you show great fortitude.
You can call it that if you like.
Well, the great thing is to be calm and to tackle all this sensibly.
That suits me very well. But you must not hide anything from me, Sir Wilfrid. You must not try and spare me. I want to know everything. I want to know the worst.
Splendid. That's the right way to tackle things. Now, my dear lady, we're not going to give way to alarm or despondency. We're going to look at things in a very sensible and straightforward manner. Now, your husband became friendly with Miss French about 6 weeks ago. You were aware of that friendship?
He told me that he had rescued an old lady and her parcels one day in the middle of a crowded street. He told me that she had asked him to go and see her.
Oh, that's all very natural, I would think. And your husband did, in fact, go see her.
Yes.
And they became great friends.
Evidently.
And there was never any question of your accompanying your husband on any occasion.
Leonard thought it better not to.
Oh, he thought it better not. But just between us, why did he think it better not?
He thought Miss French would prepare in that way.
Oh, yes, quite. Well, perhaps we can get into that some other time. Now, your husband became friendly with Miss French. He did her various little services. She was an only old woman with time on her hands who found your husband's companionship congenial to her.
Leonard can be very charming.
Oh, yes, I'm sure he can. And he felt, no doubt, it was a kindly action on his part to go and cheer the old lady up.
I dare say.
Yes, and you yourself did not object at all to your husband's friendship with this old lady.
I do not think I objected, no.
No, because you, of course, had great trust in your husband, Mrs. Bowl, knowing him as well as you do.
Yes, I know Leonard very well.
Yes. Well, I must say, I admire your calm and your courage, Mrs. Bowl, knowing, as I do, how devoted you are to him.
So you know how devoted I am to him.
Oh, of course.
But excuse me, I am a foreigner. I do not always know your English terms. But is there not a saying about knowing something of your own knowledge? You do not know that I am devoted to Leonard of your own knowledge, do you, Sir Wilfrid?
No, that is of course true, but your husband told me.
Leonard told you how devoted I was to
Oh,
him.
yes, he spoke of your devotion in the most moving terms.
Men, I often think, are very stupid. It does not matter, please go on.
Well, this Miss French was a woman of some considerable wealth. She had no near relations, and like most elderly eccentric ladies, was fond of making wills. She made several wills in her lifetime. Shortly after meeting your husband, she made a fresh will. And after some small bequests, she left the entirety of her fortune to your husband.
Yes.
You know that?
I read it in the papers this evening.
Yes, okay, quite. But before reading it in the paper, you had no idea of the fact. Your husband had no idea of it?
Is that what he told you?
Yeah. You don't suggest anything different, do you?
No. Oh no, I do not suggest anything.
Well, there seems to be no doubt that Miss French looked upon your husband rather in the light of a son, or shall we say a favorite nephew.
You think Miss French looked upon Leonard as a son?
Oh, yes, I think so. I definitely think so. You know, I think it'd be quite normal, quite natural under the circumstances.
What hypocrites you are in this country.
My dear Mrs. Bow.
I shock you? I am so sorry.
Of course. You have a continental way of looking at things, but my dear Mrs. Vole, I assure you that is not the line to take. It would be most unwise for us to suggest in any way that Miss French had feelings for Leonard Vole, other than those of a mother, or shall we say an aunt.
Oh, by all means, let us say an aunt if you think
Well,
that.
one must think of the effect on a jury of all these things, Mrs. Bell.
Yes, I also wish to do that. I have been thinking of that a good deal.
Well, quite so. Well, we must work together. Now, that brings us to the evening of October the 14th, a little over a week ago. You remember that evening, perhaps?
I remember it very well.
Leonard Vole called on Miss French that evening. The housekeeper, Janet Mackenzie, was out. Mr. Vole played a game of double demon with Miss French and finally took his leave of her around 9 o'clock. He proceeded home on foot, he tells me, arriving home at approximately 25 minutes past 9.
25 past 9.
Yes. Now, at about 9:30, the housekeeper returned to the house to retrieve something that she had forgotten. Passing the sitting room door, she heard Miss French's voice in conversation with a man. She assumed that the man with Miss French was Leonard Vole. And Inspector Hearn tells us that it is that statement of hers that has led to your husband's arrest. However, Mr. Vole informs us he has an absolute alibi for that time because he was at home with you at 9:30. That is so, is it not? He was with you at 9:30?
That is what Leonard says? That he was home with me at 9:30?
Isn't it true?
But of course.
Yes, well, possibly the police have already questioned you on this point.
Oh yes, they came to see me yesterday evening.
And you said?
I said Leonard came in at 9:25 that night and did not go out again.
You said